G'day, legends. Welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are Shane and Ian. How you going, Shane?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Good to be with you after being missing for a few weeks. Glad to be back on deck talking all things Celtic.
How you going, Ian?
I'm good. I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm just sort of saying off camera. I've been out back in Scotland working for the past 4.5 months. So I got back to Etora last Sunday. So just getting over my jet lag. But good to be back.
It's good to have you both back on, boys. So, appreciate you jumping on and, get to talk all things Celtic. So, start off naming the pod, you know, Yang Gang represent. We had to go there because Dan's not on. So, I'm like, that's shots fired. I know if he's the one always banging on about Yang in our group chat. So, you snooze, you lose, mate, especially with the last two performances from him. So, I just think what we need to do is we'll start off with just one player each, something a bit different before we get into the games and upcoming matches and all the managerial stuff that pretty much everyone's talking about. Let's just pick one random player from the Celtic squad that you think has been, come back to form or is in career best form under Martin O'Neill, because there's quite a few players there who look like completely different players to who they were a month ago, let alone 2 months ago. So, do you want to go first, Shane?
Yeah, there's a couple to pick from. Really, you could actually throw a blanket over a few of them. If I had to pick one at random right now, I'd probably say Austin Trusty. He was effectively out the door. Really, there didn't seem like there was actually a future for him. But he's come in, particularly with Carter Vickers being out, and sort of adjusted to playing on that right side. He's looked tremendous, and that partnership between Scales and Trusty in particular was superb again yesterday. And he's definitely showing exactly why we brought him in the first place, and he's absolutely got a future at the club. So definitely Austin Trusty for me.
On that, Shane, it's kind of funny. Remember with Ange where we had, you can't play the two right-sided centre backs. You had Carter Vickers and Starfelt, and it just looked a little bit awkward, but it worked. This is the reverse option of that, two left-sided centre backs, and it's just I'm liking it. That's a good shout. Who are you thinking, Ian?
No, I didn't see. I didn't see the game yesterday, so I need to catch up with that. But I suppose for me, maybe Arnie Engels. You're right, Shane. There's been a few. Arnie Engels, I've always believed there's a player there, and it wasn't his fault in terms of the amount of money we paid. I think it was kind of the ineptitude of our so-called scouting department that kind of maybe led to that. I think by all accounts we could have got him for a fraction of that cost. So, but that's not the player's fault. I think the potential's there. There was an interview with Derek Ray, the Scottish journalist and commentator, who's a German football expert. And I remember reading an interview with him before we signed Engels, and he said his ceiling was so high. He said he was actually a number 6 was his best position. He's played fullback, but he's played a lot of games for one so young in the Bundesliga, and obviously he started, that really successful sort of European campaign we had. Just narrowly missing out to Bayern Munich, and obviously winning the league last year. Engels was instrumental in that season. He's had a bit of a tail off. So did the manager in terms of Brendan Rodgers. A lot of the team had a tail off. I think he was kind of sort of caught in a bit of the crossfire with that, and sort of was benched. So it's nice to see him sort of back and firing. He's the type of player that, like Hatate, where he will try more risky balls and more risky passes, but he's got the vision to actually see it first and foremost. And when it does come off, then you can see that why he sort of was so highly rated. So I'm really happy for him. It's I'm sure we go into it later in the pod, Jared, but that posing that question about is it the Martin O'Neill effect? Can Nancy carry that on, or is it just the fact that they just needed a fresh voice and it had gone stale under Brendan Rodgers? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that later on. But I agree with what you're saying there about Engels. Like, all the talk was he's a number 6, and we saw when he was playing as a 6 in Europe, especially the Atalanta game last season, when he's playing deep alongside Kalmack, he's got the game in front of him. He's now got space opening up for him to play his long passes, to drive forward and use his athleticism and his running to get in there, right? So, yeah, he's actually playing in the right position and the game's in front of him now. He's not getting caught up in the middle and getting caught out of position because it plays to his strengths. So, yeah, it's good to see Engels in that role. Yeah, he's doing Calmac's running for him the way Calmac did Bruni's running for him in Rogers' first spell. So, I think the biggest issue with Engels, let's be honest, was probably the system didn't suit the player under Brendan. And now you see him in a system that, is less complicated and let the players play and everything. And it's working for a lot of the guys. And that ties into the guy unpicked. Pretty obvious. Yang. Is his missus in Glasgow, everyone? Who knows? That was the last time he was in this level of form. So, I don't know. I just think we've all looked at him and thought he was away in the summer. Where was he going, to Birmingham, was it?
Yep.
So he's going to go down there and join Kyogo and Iwata. So, and then you look at it and, yeah, you just get him out there and he can play right, he can play left, he can come inside. He's crossing, like, particularly for the goal for Engels, and that we'll talk about a little later, showed that he has that in his locker. It's like he's actually allowed to play now. And he's a big body for a winger. So, yeah, I'm liking it. He works hard. He's not the finished product. But I think between James Forrest in his current state and Yang in his current state, you've got a Nicholas Kuhn in the Champions League level player there. There you go. I just said that to see the comments fire up. Do you want to do another round, boys, or do you want to do that later on?
Well,
I'll let Ian go if Ian's got someone else.
No, I mean, I was going to say maybe we could sort of come back to it, but I mean, Colby Donovan as well. I think Martin O'Neill made special mention as well after the Brendan's last game against Hearts. I think unfairly criticised. I think I think he stood up. Obviously there was mistakes, but these happen in games. It was a collective. None of the team were at it, particularly in that game. So I'm hoping as well that Nancy is going to, look at the sort of some of the sort of the younger players. McCardle, I like the look of as well. The young midfielder, I think he's out on loan. There's a few. Obviously, there's some players that have had some first team experience, but I'm really hopeful that he will look to them. And we all as Celtic fans, not that we've had a great hit rate, but I think that would be good for us to sort of see some of the youth teams sort of bearing fruit into the first team.
Yeah, 100%. So what we'll do is we'll just get into the Hibs game. I think Shane's probably the only one who actually watched the game in entirety. I've watched it in chunks. So yeah, my take on it's probably not going to be that great. So yeah, Celtic 2, Hibs 1. Starting lineup, pretty simple. There wasn't as many changes as I thought there'd be, but especially off an away game in Europe, usually that's where we rotate more than anything. So yeah, I was half expecting maybe Johnny Kenny to come in and start this game or something like that. But yeah, it was Schmeichel with Donovan, Srirachi, and then the centre-back pairing that you mentioned, Shane, early on, of Trusty and Scales. Middle of the park, you had Hatate, McGregor, and Engels. Then you also had McCowan, and that was the one for me looking at the lineup. Have I just thrown you out, Shane, or what?
No, I was pushing something and I pushed it too far. Sometimes I don't know my own strength.
Shane farted, everyone. There you
go.
Yeah,
what? It wasn't that, but I can see how I set myself up for that.
Yeah, McCowan and Yang, right, and then made it back through the middle. So it was good to see Dazen back in the centre there, in the comfortable position as a striker. McCowan, I was like, is he playing wide right? Okay, cool. And then Yang was on the left. So it was an interesting lineup there. But what was your thoughts going into the game when you saw that lineup, Shane?
Pretty much similar to yourself. I was surprised that there was only, I think, one change compared to the starting 11 that ran out in Rotterdam, which was Srirachi in for Tierney. Considering it was a Thursday night game away in Europe, I thought there'd definitely be at least 3, if not 4 changes to the starting 11. So I was surprised. Maybe that's just Martin harking back to a bygone era where you would try and pretty much play the same starting 11 unless they were out of form, and that's what that struck me of. But yeah, I was a little bit curious to see how they would go, considering the travel and the fact that they did play away. But very confident in the lineup that was put out, of course, and very confident with the recent form that we were going to get the job done. But as I'll talk about later, Easter Road isn't the easiest place to go, so still a little bit of trepidation.
And Ian, what was your thoughts going into that?
As I say, I didn't get a chance to see the game. My jet lag still playing tricks with me. But I did like, the fact that McCowan seemed to sort of he did all right against Feyenoord on the right. That lovely little dink ball for the goal. I thought was good. I know sort of under Brendan Rodgers, he was sort of coming in and coming out, and he was losing possession with quite easily. I don't know whether it was just him coming into the team and stuff like that, but I thought, it wasn't a bad show actually seeing McCowan on the right again.
Yeah, I thought it would have been Mader out there, and as I said, Kenny through the middle. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah, it was a bit of a different look, but I just want to touch on it. Mader, the last 2 or 3 games, he's starting to look like himself again. The hard running's there, the pressing's there, but he's starting to look more like himself again. And I don't know whether that's a weight's off his shoulders, knowing that he's coming to the end of his time. He knows he's going to move on in January, so he's like, I want to bow out with doing as much honour to the club that brought him over to Europe as he can. And if he's trying to put himself in the shop window, so he wants to be in good form for his move, or whether it's the coaching and he just feels freer again. Like he did well there last season, but then Brendan's like, nah, we didn't bring a striker. We can't sell you. So, and now we're going to play you on the wing. So he's out of position. He was in the shits. So I don't know what it is, but I'm looking at it going, we look like we got Dazen back, and it's good to see.
Oh, I think it's the latter. I think it's down to Martin and the coaching and that transition. The one you touched on everything that's returned, but also the joy's returned. If you look at the way he's playing, you look at his reactions. He looks happy again. One of the things that he carried on the field with him on the pitch was that he always genuinely looked like he was enjoying himself. And this season under Brendan, whilst he was there, he really didn't look like he was enjoying himself. He wanted away. You could tell that. Now he looks, as you said, he does look like he's got a weight off his shoulders. And I think that's just come down to the coaching and this kind of reset that Martin and Sean have kind of, I guess, taken with the whole squad. This kind of almost pare it back to basics a little bit. It sounds a little bit trite to say it, but even just sort of telling them just to enjoy your football, right? Don't worry about it. Try not to be too stressed about it. Don't overthink it. Just go out there and enjoy it. Remember the privilege you have. I reckon Martin's definitely instilled that in the squad. And Dyson, along with many others, has been able to benefit from that change.
It actually wouldn't shock me if he doesn't move in January now. With the World Cup on the horizons and the form he's starting to hit, it wouldn't surprise me. You saw the move Kyogo did middle of last season and what happened to him. Does he really want to put his World Cup at risk? It wouldn't shock me if he stayed the rest of the season and then put himself in the shop window in the World Cup.
I think there's a big caveat to that, though, which is Nancy coming in, right? And so right now he is doing well under Martin. We don't exactly know how that is going to look when Nancy comes in. And so whether Nancy has a different idea in terms of how he's going to play him, whether he plays him out wide, whether he coaches him differently where he's not enjoying it as much as he is under Martin. I think that's a big question mark. And I wouldn't be so I'm a little bit more confident than I was before in retaining him, but yeah, I'm just not too sure how that's going to look and how he's going to feel going into a new manager taking over if he's enjoying his time under Martin so much.
What do you think, Ian?
I think, firstly, I'm really glad that the old Dyson's back. I was listening to Clyde Super Scoreboard a few months ago, and some guy phoned and says, I want Baldy Dyson back. Because it kind of signified as when he grew his hair, it was he scored a lot of goals actually, but it was kind of the Baldy Dyson was the warrior that chased every single thing down, and that's probably his main attribute. I think his finishing has improved a lot, but at times it was woeful, especially this first season where it looked more likely for him to hit the Green Brigade as it would the back of the net.
He's not Ryan Christie. Settle down.
Yeah, well, he improved as well and got and got his fair share. But I think I agree with you, Shane, that it's Martin O'Neill, and I think there's a really, we all have day jobs, and it's like, how many times have you worked in a place where there's a shit atmosphere? I think Martin O'Neill creates good culture. I think he creates a happy environment, and that allows people. You want to come into your work every morning if you're coming into an environment like that, and I think that can't be underestimated. So I think really the Martin O'Neill effect is huge. We all see the way he interviews. I've never met him in real life, but by all accounts, he's like that in real life as well. Just an infectious character, and you listen to sort of the likes of Chris Sutton and players that have played for him in the past. They still love him now. They still adore him, and they still run through brick walls for him now, and defend him to the hilt. So I think, you never know. It's again, we'll talk about it further in the pod, I'm sure. But I'm a bit gutted that he's going. I think it would have been probably, especially for him to lead the team out in the cup final. I think that would be a nice one. But I think to the end of the season it would have been great. But of course that would have meant that he would have to sort of go through a transfer window, and obviously they probably want the new man in for that. But it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing because he's always had a decent eye for a player.
I'm going to say it, Ian. You've just given me a better idea for this pod name. If I could change it, I would. Grandad vibes. That's what Martin O'Neill gives off at the moment. You don't want to upset him, if he raises his voice and he yells, you'd be like, oh, okay, look out. But yeah, he just seems like that old, it's got that, I don't know, it's a granddad vibe. That's what I think. When I hear him talk, I'm like, yep, you can tell that's someone's granddad. He's 73 years old. There you go.
See, for me, I think he's kind of he still seems pretty sprightly and active, especially when I was back in Scotland. There was some people I sort of talked to in the pub, and they looked like they were absolutely ancient, and they were about 3 or 4 years older than me. So there's a lot to be said for lack of vitamin D and lack of good nutrients. But Martin O'Neill seems like he's drinking from the fountain of youth. He's still got that vigour and he's still got that energy. You see on the touchline, he maybe doesn't jump as high when we score a goal, but he still jumps and he's still got the trachea on. So
that you picked up on the point I was going to say. I've never seen a 73-year-old rock a tracksuit that well.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, we're not getting any sales, Martin. Wear this tracksuit.
Yeah. Well, did you hear his interview? He said he was given the official training stuff, and he said that the trackie bottoms are so light, so tight. He felt like he looked like Robin Hood. so he went for the loose trackie, which was the old school one.
Good on him. Classic. Yeah, good fun. So anyway, back to the game. Shane, give us a rundown first half.
Well, Hibs came out at us pretty early, and I thought for the first 20 minutes or so they were definitely the better of the teams on the pitch. They didn't create anything really clear cut, to be honest with you, but they were pinning us back a fair bit, and I thought we were struggling for that first 20, 25 minutes to get a foothold in the game. Then we started to get a little bit of control, particularly in midfield, and from there we were clinical. So obviously the first goal, well, we had one chalked off. You were obviously talking about Yang earlier, and obviously he was central to that goal that was unfortunately chalked off, where McCowan plays him in, but he just hesitates a bit too long, and Yang does the right thing and crosses it to Maeda, but unfortunately it was ruled out offside. But shortly afterwards, he's involved again, and obviously it actually comes from a mistake from JD Salinger. It's the most intellectual joke I'll ever make on this pod, and probably nobody got it. Look, it's a really poor... he's trying to play out from the back, really. It's really poor. I don't know who the Hibs player is that gets caught with the ball. He probably shouldn't be calling for it, but Hatate gets in on it. And then obviously very smartly plays in Dyson, who scores. Pretty bad mistake, really. The clinical nature, though, to go and score, 30 seconds later, ball breaks kindly. Obviously, this comes to Yang. and I don't want to take away your thunder. I'm sure you're going to talk a bit more about the Yang Gang, but his cross to pick out Engels was just superb. That quality, that poise, which we haven't really seen from him. When we think about Yang, we sort of think of him in rush terms. He seems like he's just sort of maybe his brain's ahead of where he's trying to get the ball to, but that poise to be able to pick him out perfectly, and it was a really good finish from Engels, and under duress too. I'm a little bit surprised, in all honesty, the Hibs player didn't actually see red for that high foot, which caught Engels. But that's a discussion for another day, probably. But look, we went in, we'd easily gotten control of the game by halftime, and we definitely were the team deserving of a 2-0 lead. But man, when we went, we were so clinical, and I can't remember seeing us so direct since Martin took over, and it's actually a joy to see.
The funny thing, Shane, with the directness and everything is it's been a while since we've just okay, put a team to the sword with a couple of quick goals and been like, yep, okay, we could sit on this and manage the rest of the game if we wanted, and done that early in the first half. It's been a while. Like, we did it under Ange. We haven't really done that very much. We did it a couple of times last season when we won a couple of 3, 4, 5-0 sort of score lines, but other than that, I can't really remember much of that happening since we got beat by Bayern Munich. So there's maybe 1 or 2 games there, but so it's good to see that directness and getting on the front foot and making it an easy afternoon for ourselves, potentially, if a referee doesn't happen, which we'll get into. Bloody, what is it? What was that saying again? The hashtag everyone was using?
The
goalkeepers? No, not goalkeepers, for penalties. Oh, Morrison and all them did it on their one back in the day. I don't know. Ian might know. Anyway.
Not sure.
Anyway, we've gone silly. But anyway, back to
wasn't penalty to Rangers, was it?
Oh, that could be one. Penalty Rangers. It doesn't matter. Ian, do you want to give us your thoughts on that, or do you want Shane to get into the second half? I'm going to Google this now. It's going to bug me.
Yeah, well, I can talk about the final game, but as I say, I've not had a chance to see the Hibs game yet, so I would be just talking pish.
This is the podcast for it.
It's what we do best on this pod, and come on, this is exactly what we do. All right, look, I'm happy to get into the second half if that's all right. So, look, after halftime, I thought we tapered off a fair bit, and I think it was more down to fatigue. I wouldn't say we were necessarily poor. We just looked pretty tired. Hibs came out after halftime with a renewed sense of vigor, and they were starting to put us under the cosh a little bit. And there were times where I felt we were managing the game relatively well. I don't think they ever put us under any significant pressure, save from the penalty and that scuff shot from Cadden. And there was another save that Schmeichel had to make. There were a couple of moments. They didn't create many clear-cut repeat opportunities for themselves, but they were definitely getting up. They were pinning us back a little bit. And we just looked like we were a little bit heavy-legged from the trip to and back from Rotterdam. So I don't think they were ever sort of completely in control of the game. I felt like we still had enough to see out and hold on to the 3 points, which we did in the end. But I definitely feel like we sort of struggled with a little bit of fatigue in that second half, and a couple of the subs that Martin brought on probably didn't have the desired effect in terms of changing the game or bringing some control. The likes of Bernardo and who else? Yeah, Negrin didn't really kind of influence the game and really kind of I guess get the momentum completely back under our control, or in our control, I should say. But look, it's a solid result regardless. I think, to echo a few other sentiments that I've heard on other pods, if you told me before the game started that we were going to win 2-1, I would have absolutely taken that. Our record at Easter Road isn't the greatest anyway, let alone when Hibs are up and about under David Gray. So, and again, the caveat to all that is that we'd come back from playing Feyenoord on a Thursday night into playing at Easter Road on Sunday. So I think all in all, a really good and solid 3 points, and definitely something to be very positive about on top of anything else.
The hashtag was patterns of assistance. I got it. But while I was Googling it, I found this, which is, I just have to. So in 2015, as you'll see, Vice article, there's no conspiracy against Celtic. Scotland's referees are just shit, from Graham Ruthven. Look at the date on that. April 24th, 2015. And nothing has changed. Anyway.
Well, I mean, the big decision, of course, was the handball, really. I mean, that's what really got them back into the game. And if you would you allow me to go on a VAR tangent?
Shane, I know you like to waffle, so let's just see if Ian wants to say anything.
No, I'd like to hear the rant about VAR, because yeah.
Get on it, Shano.
It's a mistake, Ian. If you let me waffle, you'll soon regret it. Trust me.
We need some sort of intro for this. Shane's like rant or something like
that. little stinger for the pod. Look, I'll try and keep it brief, and I know that's probably going to be a lie, but anyway. Look, the thing for me about it all is it just encapsulates everything we've complained about VAR and VAR, however you want to refer to it in the past, which is it continues to overstep its remit. Now, when you look at that footage, yes, the ball does hit Liam Scales' hand. It also hits his shoulder, and it's not clear for me from the footage, and I've watched it back 20, 30 times now. It's not clear for me which part of his actual arm it has hit first. Because if it's hit his shoulder onto his hand, it's not, by the IFAB rules, it's not a handball, because it's come off, it's deflected off another part of his body first. And we know the t-shirt, part of the, of the silhouette is not considered a handball. But if it hits his hand and then goes into his shoulder, then yeah, you've got a case to make it handball. So Nick Walsh doesn't call it. He then gets called over to look at the footage. And from what I saw on the screen, there was no way you could overturn that. And yet, not only does Nick Walsh go and overturn it, he also books Liam Scales, which was just like the icing on top of a really shit cake. It's a schmozzle. I can't understand.
Got to. This is the last quote I got for you on the ticket.
It is. It's a complete schmozzle, but that extends from the handball to just the VAR. The VAR, and again, we've got another situation where VAR is re-reffing the game, not actually correcting a major error. There was nothing on that footage that you could look at and say, "Oh yeah, you've made a clear and obvious mistake there, Nick." It wasn't. That's the VAR ref stepping in and just over-refereeing the game and actually going above and beyond what the on-field ref says. And we've been told countless times that's not what VAR is for, and it continues to frustrate me and thousands, if not millions, of other football fans around the globe that it is misused in that capacity each and every week across leagues all over the world.
So what I've read, Shane, is that apparently it's the bottom of the armpit. Like if your arm is here and that's where the bottom of your arm is at your armpit, that point there technically counts. If it's from there down, it counts as a handball. If it's from there up, it counts as a header, or you can shoulder, because you can score with your shoulder, right? Which makes no sense, because if you come in and you bump the ball with your shoulder to knock it forward, part of the ball is going to be lower than that part of your armpit that they're talking about. So people are absolute just clutching here, making all sorts of bollocks up, basically.
And that's the problem, right? Is because it's already been, like, you've had an on-field decision made. Is there enough to overturn it? Clearly not.
Shane, Ian's turn to talk.
No, I was going to say in terms of VAR and things like that, but for rules like that especially, there's still an element of subjectiveness that is there for interpretation. You need to remove any of that subjectiveness and just make it black and white. If it's there, it's a handball, and it's so frustrating when you see some players get away with it, and that happens, and they don't get penalised, and other players that do. So it should be one size fits all. But in terms of VAR in Scotland, it's ridiculous. I don't know if they're just trying to be so bad that they get rid of it and then go back to giving one team like 50 penalties,
Yeah.
in a row. But
Yeah.
it's like none of the EPL have got loads of money, but like we've got like the Timu version, and you see when they draw the lines and stuff like that, it's like daubing the pantomime horses, gone and got drunk and just staggered across the, it's ridiculous, and we wonder why we kind of get the piss taken out of us.
They're using the Etch-a-Sketch to draw the lines. That's all it is.
Exactly, you see some of it when it's like that,
Yeah.
it's like,
It's ridiculous.
it really is, So and it's the fact that not all teams can afford to have all of the cameras and stuff like that. Where the Celtic and Rangers say, look, for in the spirit of the game, let's pay for it, and then you can maybe pay us back on the Never Never or something. I don't know, or just do it as a gesture of goodwill because it's best for the game, isn't it?
Let's look at it this way. Who's getting a nice chunk of cash because they qualified for the World Cup for the first time in however many years? There you go. It pays for itself off that money.
Yeah.
No excuses.
No, I like the thing with Scottish football as well. I mean, I don't know if you saw Paul John Dykes on having that debate with Jamie O'Hara on Sky.
Oh, that guy's a fun.
But the thing that I was going to just sort of triggered in my mind was when they pulled up where Celtic are, so where the Scottish League is in terms of what number it is, and it's below League One in England. In terms of the standard, which was a shock to me. It's an Opta index stat. So it was shocking to me to think that's kind of the standard of where we are. But you've got the model, like English football and Scottish football used to be pretty much on a par, I would say, before the bigger teams and stuff like that, before Sky put the money in and all the razzmatazz and pumped all the money in, and when you have Burnley, like lipstick on pigs left, right and centre, and I remember there was a time where Stoke City had a bigger playing budget, a bigger wage bill, than Atletico Madrid. It's like you can't polish a turd. It's still Stoke.
That was when they had Shawcross and all those guys there. But the thing is, though, Ian, look, what you're saying makes sense because I remember in the 90s when you'd watch the game, you'd watch it and it was like the Premier League had just started in England. And what you're looking at there is Celtic and Rangers were on a comparative budget to the big clubs in England. All the big clubs in England I think there was one season that there was like 11 Scottish managers in the EPL. There was also pretty much every team had at least 3 or 4 Scottish players in their team. And it's just gone off a cliff.
Well, do you remember we beat Arsenal to sign Alan Thompson? Not Alan Thompson, sorry. The defender from Bolton, Alan Stubbs. Arsenal were after Alan Stubbs, and we beat Arsenal, and that was what 94, 95, or maybe 95, 96. Rangers beat a host of teams to sign Gaza. So it wasn't too far back. Obviously, it was during the Premier League era, but and I remember as well when with the Coventry, we used to get the big guns. It was Martin Tyler and Andy Gray. They used to do all the big games, and they used to do the Celtic Rangers games. And it was good. It kind of elevated. But I suppose to sort of finish the point I was going to make before is that when I think there was a parity in terms of the standard of football before the EPL kicked off, Sky have got the model. The television company's got the model. Why not put money into Scottish football and elevate the game, raise the standard, allow us to attract more players, improve the infrastructure. It's kind of a mini version of the EPL, really. It's another product to sell, but they're not doing that for some reason. But yeah, just an observation.
Just going to throw something out there, one for the Aussies tuning in. Mark Viduka gets sold to Leeds, and the exact same money we got for him, we turned around and bought Chris Sutton with that money. So that shows exactly where it was at back then. I've got no idea I can't see Shane's face now because I got some Robert Gibson comment stuck up over the top of my screen. There we go. Let's bring some comments up.
What a player Viduka was, though. Eh? I mean, he could have been an absolute wall beater if his head was right. I know he had a great career, but what a phenomenal player he was.
On his day. There you go. McLaughlin, I love your picture. First time we won 4 games in a row since last November. Craigie White. May as well give Martin the cup final. That's going to be our next topic, so we'll get into the managerial stuff. And then Craigie's followed up saying, get Nancy in right after to concentrate on the January window. JCH is saying, brilliant 3 points yesterday, brilliant kneecap concert last night, brilliant weekend.
Brilliant.
Love it. Hope you enjoyed it. Nice one, Shane. McLaughlin saying, get ourselves a top on Wednesday and let Martin take the applause. Yeah. And he's followed up with a 5-0 win will take us top of Hearts draw. If they draw. Robert Gibson saying, Martin O'Neill should be made CEO. He can run it from where he gets his coffee in London and P45 Lawwell and his pals. Robert, of course you're going to say this. Yang scores goals when he gets his hole. You don't get these sort of comments brought up on screen on Axon, do you, Ian?
No. That should be a chant. And my mates in a band called the Bluebells. I don't know if you know them in Australia, but they had a big hit with a song called "Young at Heart," and we thought we heard some of the fans singing "Yang at Heart" at the game, so we're trying to get it to catch.
Nah, just rip out that one. Yang scores goals when he gets his hole.
Exactly, that should be a chant.
And then just do some clap sort of thing after it. Loving it. Mahesh is saying Johnny Kenny needs a mention, averaging over 1 goal and assist a game. That's what we're talking about, players who improved. John Cairns is saying final game showed real heart. O'Neill was just what we needed post Rogers and the Bordeaux ordeal. It's still fucking bored detached bunch of bampots. We say what we want here, Ian. We don't worry. Smell the Gloves saying Celtic top next Sunday. Heavy Vibes is saying hail boys. Days are made are back on form just before he leaves. Smell the Gloves saying McCowan is a squad player but loves being at Celtic. He's living the dream. This is a good point, John. John CI is saying, I have a feeling Sean Maloney has had a big effect on Yang and his better performances. That spot on in much the same way Harry Kuehl had a big impact in his time at the club with our wingers back then.
Especially Dyson.
Yeah. Robert Gibson, anyone calls me Nancy Boy is getting their balls booted. Robert, I'm going to name a podcast Nancy Boy just for you, mate. I might even name it Robert Gibson Loves the Nancy Boy. Just for you. Brendan McCarthy's saying, hail boys, we will also start to get plus fit again and back playing. Craigie White, loving the Jambo crumble, my favourite dessert. Smell the Glove saying, thankfully it was Hibs fannying about at the back and not us. In a hype, Yang's the natural successor to Sun in the South Korean national side. Here you go, John. This ties into what you said early on. When you consider Yang being sent off at Tynecastle for a high boot, the Hibs players should have been sent off. Should have been off.
Yep.
Yeah, cool, agree. But where's the inquiry? Where's the letter coming from the SFA? I want all that too. You know, if they're going to have a cry, then, you know, I want the same. I tried to keep a straight face. Fucking sucks. Honest mistakes was the other one for other hashtag for him. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, what else we got? Robert Gibson saying Scales was unlucky with the handball. Mr. Magoo in the VAR tent. Mr. Magoo. Yeah, so smell the glove. Yep, I agree with you. VAR has ruined football enjoyment. Can't celebrate any goals anymore. Bin it. I think that's why Dazen doesn't even bother celebrating half the time. Like, you watch him when he scores and he just does not celebrate. And then his teammates come and swamp him. Then he gives a few guys a pat on the back or whatever, but he doesn't do anything until he actually sees, yep, okay, good. The amount of times he's got chalked it off. But yeah, back to that talk about the money there, Ian. Money talks League One pay more than SPFL. Smell the glove as if you watch the EPL these days. It's pish. There's no excitement anymore.
I've got to say, I was actually being back in the UK. I was of the same opinion for the past good number of years. I used to really like English football. I grew up in England, so I get the best of both worlds, and obviously being a Celtic fan and watching Scottish football as well. But in the past 6 months, I think it's changing, and it seems to be a bit more unpredictable and a bit more exciting again. There's a bit more excitement back. Just my own personal observation, but it's some of the games recently have been pretty good. But I do know what the guy was saying. I did concur for a long time.
The thing as well, there was a lot of people like fans, the working class and stuff like that. They're with cost of living crisis, like they're being priced out of going to the EPL games. It's way too expensive.
Yeah.
So I got a mate who went over and wanted to go to an Arsenal game, and it was going to cost him the equivalent of like 120, 130 Australian dollars for one ticket. And he's like, I can't justify that.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a quarter of your season book over here or half the season ticket at some clubs in the A League for a general admin. He goes, I'd rather pay for that and be able to go to every game. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. But then you have a look and like the what's it called, Sunday League is starting to pick back up. People are starting to go to their community clubs again down in England. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
Andrew
Plus, I
Gillespie-
suppose there's the trickle down effect as well in England, isn't there? From in the pyramid.
yeah.
So yeah.
Andrew Galea saying doesn't mean Celtic are League One standard. We are head and shoulders above our league rivals.
Agree.
Mm-hmm.
There was more Andy Gray shoving 9 in a row in Scottish viewers' faces at the start.
I saw that comment. Yeah, he loved it, didn't he?
Yeah. Smell the glove. Only thing I admired about Viduka was his bird. Oh, Stephen McMonigal, here we go. Shane, you need to sing this for us.
No.
Do it. Do it. Chicken.
No. Are you damn right? Yeah.
McLaughlin.
I'm not getting that recorded for audio.
Yang, a victim of Roger's philosophy. Yeah, along with a few others. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one there. But what we'll do is we'll get into the whole managerial situation. So we're talking about Martin O'Neill, how amazing he's been for the club, stabilising everything. The players are coming up, they're improving, they're getting back their love of the game, right? Then you got the talk of Wilfred Nancy coming in. Now, done a little bit of looking at, you see what he's like. Nancy seems more like an Ange type, where it's a lot more high energy press and try and win the ball back early. My concern with the transition across is one little thing, right? It's you start the season playing Rogers style, then you go to a more direct O'Neill style, then you go to Nancy style. Does the playing group have the capacity to change play three different styles within the same season and win the league? I think we have enough talent there. We'll bring more players in January to do that. But that's what my concern is. We're seeing a nice positive result here with players coming in. And I'd love for Martin to get the cup final. And then, as was said in the comments earlier, Nancy comes in after that, gets a couple of weeks with the players, gets to focus on who I need, where we need to strengthen, address it, and hit the ground running. Go to the MLS and sign a few players that he knows about that no one else does. A few Alistair Johnson types, get them in cheap from the MLS and get on with it. That's the sort of thing that's how I would see the transition. I'd love to get your thoughts, Ian, on how you would do this.
Right. So I think the shadow of Martin O'Neill. He's small in stature, but his shadow looms large. Should Nancy come in and have a bit of a sticky start, which is quite naturally normal for him to come in with that transition. So I I hope it's not the case, but it just seems that the fact that Martin is so beloved, he's come in and he's kind of captured the kind of the imagination of fans again. Obviously us fans that can remember him from the first time, and also the younger fans. They're sort of seeing his the way he conducts himself, and I suppose the better vibes. I know there's massive issues between the us fans and the board at the moment, rightly so, in my opinion. And Martin's kind of he's kind of eschewed that, and kind of he's really kind of brought bringing the fans and the team together, which is let's be honest, is the most important aspect of Celtic, is the fans and the first 11 on the pitch. So I do think that it could go swimmingly well. It could they could have a third voice, and that Martin O'Neill's simply raised everyone's confidence, ready for the new guy to come in and for him to sort of take that on and build upon that and use it as a springboard. But equally, as I say, if some results don't go like under Ange, the first 4 or 5 games or whatever didn't go too well, and it was looking like it was the wheels had well and truly fallen off. We lost the 10 in a row. There was a massive rebuild, and so the morale was massively low, and obviously we know how that turned out with Ange. So I don't know. For me, I personally, at this moment in time, obviously I can't see the future, but at this moment in time, I would be more inclined to keep Martin for the season, and then have Nancy come in, get a pre-season and come in. Hopefully, after we've won the league and qualified for the Champions League qualifiers.
And Shane, what are your thoughts?
I think there's some natural trepidation about a playing squad, no matter how talented they are, having to pivot from one manager to another manager style to a third manager style, all in the space of a couple of months. I would be a little bit concerned with Nancy coming in, particularly before the cup final. It's a little bit of kind of, I'm half and half on this. If Nancy's the man that the board have settled on and he is the guy to lead us forward, ideally you'd want him in as soon as possible. Start getting the lay of the land, understand the playing group he has, starting to see what he's got to work with so that he can prepare for January and the January transfer window. And, theoretically, even though, and we don't know exactly what the holdup is, whether it is paperwork, whether it's something else, but, if it is just paperwork, then really Nancy is probably doing his homework already and should be well aware of the squad we've got and well aware of at least some changes he's planning to make before he actually gets on the ground in Glasgow. I think I sort of lean to what I sort of lean into what Ian's saying. Like I'm a little bit concerned with Nancy coming in and then having to make that change. And particularly with a cup final on the horizon, I think ideally you would have Martin take this team right through to the cup final, and then hopefully we're on top of the league by then, and then you can start to make that move. And if Nancy comes in, I think ideally if he's got some desires on what he wants to do and what he wants to achieve and how he wants to play, he probably needs to temper those a little bit and probably lean into more of the directness that Martin has instilled in the team and find that balance. I think we're the biggest risk is Nancy coming in and then ripping everything up and trying to implement what he has after what the playing group have just gone under with Martin for the last month and a bit. So coming in January, yes, he can build towards the future, but he probably needs to strike that balance of this is how I want to play, but I'm going to continue in this vein to some degree because this is success and this is what's getting the best out of this playing group. And then once he gets through to the end of the season, then he can start to really implement this is how I want to play now. We've got a pre-season to do this.
Can I just jump in as well? Just on that point. I think Martin's success has been the fact that he has simplified the message. I think Brendan Rodgers. I think it took about 6 months, even with a pre-season, for him to get the team to sort of change from Ange's style to his style. It took a good 6 months, I would say. Whereas Martin O'Neill came in midway through the season in turmoil, simplified it, stripped away all the shit, this is your job, boys. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to sound crude, but it was pretty much this is the message. Like obviously he's a student of Brian Clough. Defenders, head it, kick it. Pass it to someone who can do some of that. What's the point of Calmac coming within 5 yards of the centre half, picking the ball up, and then playing a 10-yard pass to somebody? It's absolutely pointless.
I don't know.
Pointless. So I think we're saying he's gone more direct. He has, but it's not Route One football. He's just cutting out these superfluous, needless points of contact. And I think at times we did it under Brendan Rodgers. And I think when we got Casper, his distribution was an improvement on Joe Hart. So he was sort of, I hate the term, but passing through the lines. He was bypassing defence and hitting the midfield or sometimes the wingers because his distribution was great. So I think Martin has just basically done that. He's simplified it, and will Nancy now come in with different ideas and try to add a bit more of a complex layer or two mid-season? I just think and also as well with St Mirren. St Mirren almost outfoxed Brendan Rodgers the end of last season and this season, and almost outfoxed Martin O'Neill as well. We got that late winner with Calmac, so I think there's a worry as well. I think if Martin O'Neill leads to the cup final, we've got a better chance of winning that than Nancy coming in and being struck cold by a wily Stephen Robinson team.
And that's the thing, Ian. Like for me, I agree with what you're saying. I would love for it to happen if it's going to happen with Nancy and he comes in. If he comes in and you got a cup final and a big away game in Europe or a big game in Europe and we don't win either of them, right? Suddenly the spectre of Martin is going to be hanging over him. Yeah. If he does, like there's a comment in here from, I think it was Mahesh, there we go. He's saying, Ange, 17 points dropped in his first 10 games. Rodgers, 9 points dropped first 10 games, second stint. How many for Nuncy? And it will cost Celtic the league. And if that happens, if he comes in and we lose a cup final to a wily St Mirren team and we don't do well in that next European game as well, and then we're getting into the New Year derby and we're not in great form, you're going to have that spectre of Martin O'Neill just hanging over him the rest of the season. People are like, oh, we should have kept Martin. Why we bring him in? He's on a hiding to nothing. So it's a bit of an awkward situation because of that. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring up some comments here. So Andrew Galea was like, we're going to have to adapt. Smell the Glass saying, wouldn't surprise me one bit if the board made an ass of Nancy's appointment and he isn't coming now. Robert Gibson, straight away, Martin O'Neill keeps up with this and he will have birds chucking their knickers at him. We'll also have Dan doing it on the pod. Martin O'Neill would win us the league. This could be a risky changing if Nuncy doesn't hit the ground running. And there you go, ties in. Stephen said that there. Simon Denny is saying, calls for Martin O'Neill to stay understandable, but feels like kicking the can down the road a bit to me. I agree with that, Simon, but at the same time, who knows what candidates are going to be available after the World Cup or in the summer. So who knows? But Nuncy is an exciting prospect, but at the same time, I would rather him, if we're going to bring him in, if we did this in end of the season with a full preseason, makes more sense to me. Bringing it in now with such a structural change after already having one, going to be a bit of a doozy. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
No, just before you get to the next comment, Nancy's really intriguing to me because his CV, like he's been heavily linked to this job and effectively it's felt like it's been his job for the last couple of weeks now. And when you look at his CV, and I don't mean to disparage him in any way, but his CV doesn't exactly scream prime locked-in candidate to manage Celtic. So he's very much an unknown. He's obviously doesn't have the same credits in the bank that Ange did. There's some similarities there in terms of their unknownness in terms of the landscape of European football, but they are very different in terms of what they'd achieved up until this point. So I'm intrigued. I'm definitely excited by the potential appointment and what he could do. It's that unknown factor. But his CV just hasn't screamed to me at any point natural successor for the Celtic manager's job.
Okay, we've got another comment here from Andrew Goulet saying, I don't think we're just changing a manager, we're changing the whole way the football department operates with this new manager. McLaughlin saying, do you think clubs who were maybe interested in Rodgers beforehand are now looking at the mess O'Neill's actually sorting out here and thinking, fuck that? Yeah, pretty much. Some of them would be. He'll end up in Spain. That's what I reckon as his next move. Stephen McGonigal saying, Viduka makes good coffee in his cafe in Zagreb. Yeah, so there we go. Mahesh is saying, remember Andrew's first season was very line ball until the Japanese guys arrived. So something you mentioned, Shane, about not having the runs on the board. There's talk that Nuncey's coming in with 2 assistants of his own, and there's going to be a Celtic-minded person along with him. Apparently, some people are saying it's Sean Maloney. Apparently, he's saying he doesn't want him that role. So let's just have a laugh here and pick a random someone with a tie into Celtic who it could be coming in to be an assistant coach or a assistant manager or something for him. In the same way, I'm just going to throw it because I've seen people saying it. It's going to be Ronnie Dahlia. Dahlia coming in. And you know how he had John Collins foisted on him previously when he came to the club. So let's just chuck a random name out there. Who do you think? We'll go to you first, Ian.
Oh, geez, now you're talking.
Got some thinking music?
So, someone like for a laugh, or someone you actually think? I actually think. Well,
Go one of each.
Okay. Snoop Dogg. As the
That's the legit one, right? Yeah.
As the wild card.
The big boss dog. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and it could be someone like John Collins, or Ronnie Dyler. But to say Ronnie Dyler's Celtic minded, I think potentially. Wilfred Nuncey's probably the closest to Ronnie Dyler in terms of an appointment for a good number of years. But yeah, it could be any of those. Sean Maloney, a Ronnie Dyler, a John Collins type appointment.
Big Snoop Dogg. I'm just laughing at some of the comments here. Heavy vibes. Lennon.
Could be Lennon. Yeah, you never know.
Robert Gibson saying Lou Macari. Simon for Denny is saying John Kennedy. Smell the Glove is saying Mo Johnson. Andrew Galea, if we were to bring in a director of football, I agree, it's Jackie Mack. But he's apparently on the outs with the board over the whole Ben Doak situation, so it won't be him.
Well, with the Mo Johnson thing, apparently Mo Johnson, after he left Rangers, started supporting Celtic again.
Robert Gibson's got it picked on perfect. It's Hoopy the Huddle Hound.
Yeah.
Shane, who are you thinking?
Well, for a laugh, we'll get Martin Compston in, and he can be assistant. I had actually thought of Jackie Mack as a serious candidate until obviously what you've just mentioned then. So I'll go Tam Boyd.
Cool. For me, a serious candidate, Darren O'Day has just left Swansea City, so he might come back up the road, come in as an assistant manager or an assistant coach or something like that. And one for a laugh. What do we do? I'm voting for Jim Orr from Axom. There you go. Good fun. Kevin Bridges, there's a good one for you. I say
that's good.
My one for a laugh actually is pretty simple. It's a 3-for-1 special if my memory's right, but it's kneecap. Bring them in with their balaclavas and everything. Done. So midweek we've got on Thursday. Who we got in the league again?
Dundee.
What are you thinking? How you feeling heading into it, Ian?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I don't want to jinx things. And if it is Martin's swan song, hopefully we can get a result, and we don't sort of all start to think it's a foregone conclusion, because that's when egg on face, kick up the arse time happens. So I I think, I think as long as we kind of just carry on the way we've been carrying on, and we'll kind of. I think you're right as well, Shane, about the reports that I read anyway. The Hibs game, the players were tired after the exertions of Europe, which is only natural. So I just think more of the same, and hopefully the players are suitably motivated to give Martin O'Neill the best send off they can.
Yep, agree. I think that's going to be the main thing for us. If this is Martin's last game in this stint, we want to go out there and just absolutely flog Dundee and get a nice big win. So, yeah, I'm thinking we'll get out there and we'll win 4-0.
This is the way we keep. I think you guys have actually just touched on something there. This is how we keep getting the team to perform so well. Just keep making them think it's Martin's last game in charge, right? And then you just keep. Oh no, actually it'll be next week. Oh no, it'd actually be the cup final. Actually it'll be the New Year's Glasgow derby. Like just keep going. Just
what that's reminded me of, Shane?
What?
Dude, where's my car? And Dan.
So I think we've solved the mystery. I think you guys have nailed it. Look, in all seriousness, I'm feeling very confident about this. I'm thinking 4 or 5-0. Dundee got a win though against St Mirren. It's actually dropped St Mirren down to 11th in the league now. So despite their plucky performances against us and the fact they're in the cup final, they are sitting in the relegation playoff zone, which caught me by surprise. So 3-1 win against St Mirren, so they're coming in with at least a win under their belt, but I think at home we'll get the job done pretty easily.
Happy days. Robert Gibson is saying 9-1 as Dundee is a shithole. Shithole. There you go. So, Andrew Glazer, will we see Yamada and maybe Inamura on the bench? Who knows? Does Inamura even exist?
I've seen him. He does. I promise you.
Looks decent.
All right. So, to finish off, before we go to our final thoughts, I'll give you a little thinking time here. Saw this video shared around, and I thought it was absolutely great to see the banter within the locker room and from the boys after the game. So I'll play it.
I've got another job for you. Can I hand over this award, the William Hill Premiership Player of the Match to Dyson Maida, please? Sorry.
Do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking, how do you think I handball and still get the match?
Cheers, guys.
I love the whole Kelmac thing. That's a good skipper, just giving shit to, Scales like, Jason, he gives a handball and man of the match. How's that work? Sort of thing. It's pisser. Love it. It's the most I've heard Kelmac speak.
It's funny you show that because during the game there was a moment when Hibs were pressing and I can't remember, someone scuffed a clearance or something like that, and Kelmac was doing his usual leadership role of sort of getting around them, but again he had this smile on his face which kind of defied the situation that it may have could have been. And again, it ties into what we've talked about earlier, which is the players seem to be enjoying their football under Martin again, and that was a pisser of a moment. And Kelmac's commentary that followed, just superb.
Brilliant. So we'll go to our final thoughts to wrap up the pod. You want to go first, Shane?
Yeah, just a quick shout out music-wise. Again, a little bit left field for me. I've been enjoying a musician by the name, she goes by the name of Soccer Mummy. She's from Nashville in America. Indie rock, maybe a little bit leaning towards emo, lo-fi kind of stuff, really melancholic music. I first came across her music when she did a cover of Pavement's Gold Sounds for Triple J, and she's got just an incredible voice. So, Soccer Mummy, check it out. It's really good melancholic music.
Nice one. Ian, you got a final thought?
As much as I love music, I'm going to use a Celtic related one, and probably I've gone over it anyway, which is basically, lose the paperwork and keep Martin for the rest of the season, or maybe 18 months.
Yeah. My final thought, pretty simple. More of the Yang gang. Keep it coming, Yang. Keep it going. Where's his missus in town? Come on. If you're not, get her in, Celtic. We need this guy up and about. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.